here are the numbers that came out of the economic impact model. And it's based on, again, the average expenditures used by PKF, the estimates of the number of events and the number of event days used by PKF, and the actual number of delegates and delegate days as reported by Compass. Both of those thrown into the same model. So $1.7 million in actual activity versus $4 million in the PKF model. Now, obviously, that's a big shortfall. I mean, we're not even close there. But I'd like to make a couple of comments on that. I think, first of all, the actual shortfall, the gap, isn't quite as big, and that's because I think the PKF report painted an overly optimistic picture in terms of the assumptions that they used in their economic impact model. Let me just show you a couple of them. They assume, for example, that everybody attending a convention, 100% of the people attending a convention would come from out of town, and they would all stay overnight. Well, I mean, one of the great advantages you have here in Chatham-Kent is your proximity to London and Sarnia and Windsor. It's only logical that if you're having a regional meeting for southwestern Ontario, that some of the people are going to say, well, I'm going to drive home. It's also logical when you consider you don't have an awful lot of hotel rooms here, quite frankly, given the size of your convention center. So they assumed 100% were from out of town, and in fact, only 77% of convention delegates were from out of town. 95% of them stayed overnight. An even more significant shortfall in terms of non-local meetings. PKF assumed all of the people going to a non-local meeting were from out of town, and all of them would stay overnight. And in fact, less than half of them were from out of town, and less than a quarter of them stayed overnight. And again, part of that's just logical. You know, the non-local meetings, a lot of them, in fact, the majority of them, are arranged by people that are based here in the community, and they're bringing in their reps and their clients and other people from across the province. So I think they had an overly optimistic outlook in terms of how the convention center would impact the community and the hotels. I think a more realistic estimate of where the convention center should be functioning is not the $4 million, but more like $3 million.